All right, welcome back to the channel there. I'm here at the Stade de France. I'm in the media zone. They've got this cool little area that you can book out and do videos and things like that. So I've got about 10 minutes to look back on the England game against Chile. And there are a few interesting points that have come out of that, a result that most people would have expected, but perhaps maybe a few discussions around selection, I think, that will be interesting for England moving forward. I also think in just a moment we're going to have an announcement over the speakers here, so that might come across as well. But drop a comment down below. Let me know what you made of the game and what you make of this England team moving forward. In particular, some of the things that I mentioned going forward. Marcus Smith, Henry Arundell are probably two of the guys that I'd imagine are going to be on a lot of people's lips. So let me know in the comment section down below, and also like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. But let's get into it. Okie doke, so England 71, Chile 0. A scoreline utterly dominant that many people would have expected to be pretty dominant, and it was that way in the end. Just quickly on Chile, there's probably not too much you can say for a match like this. There you go, right on cue, you can probably hear that. But for a team like Chile, I actually really like the way in which they approached the game, in that they tried to play from everywhere. There was a moment in the first half when the game was still 0-0 that they were spreading it wide. They went from inside their own half into the England 22, and each time they got into that 22 they were never really able to muster anything. And I suppose it's a reflection of the disparity between some of the sides in the world like England and Chile, or some of those supposed tier 2 nations. On to England though, and it took England 20 minutes in this game to score their first points, which most people probably wouldn't realise looking at the scoreboard. So actually, if you look at it from the 20-minute mark, so for the remaining 60 minutes of that game, England scored 71 points to 0. Now I know that a game doesn't work like that, I know the scoring doesn't work like that, but that in itself I think is interesting. And this is perhaps one of my biggest takeaways of this game from an England perspective. Is there anything in that? Is there anything in this England team taking a while to get into games, and it's only once they are able to get maybe a score or more ahead of the opposition that they kick through the gears? And I'm sure eventually against Chile it would have happened in this game anyway, because the difference in quality ultimately eventually would have showed. But I think we saw similar against Japan, where England weren't great. It probably took them to that fluky Courtney Lawes try before they really were able to pull away. And I think we've seen similar here as well. So I just wonder whether psychologically, is there something in that? England fans, you can let me know what you make of that in the comments. But yeah, just after that, the floodgates opened, and I feel like we've seen that on a couple of occasions already, which I think is maybe an observation worth noting from an England point of view. Let's get on to Henry Arundell. 5 tries in one game. He goes to the top of the try scorer charts at this Rugby World Cup, having, until today anyway, not really played all that much rugby, which is quite entertaining. I'm just glad I had him in my fantasy team, frankly. I wish I'd captained him or triple captained him now. So 5 tries for him. I'm glad to see him do it in an England shirt. He had an injury-affected season for London Irish. He's a guy with a huge amount of promise, but we probably haven't seen that much of at international level so far. So I'm glad he crossed over the whitewash. The interesting thing for me is how much more of Henry Arundell do we see in this World Cup? Because my gut instinct at this moment in time is I'm not sure we'll see him starting in a big quarter-final. And this can kind of lead us on maybe to the chat about Marcus Smith at fullback, but I still think we might see other people on the wings and maybe Arundell as an option off the bench. Now the obvious thing is he gives an injection of pace and agility into that back line that other wingers don't have, but I still feel that at this moment in time Steve Borthwick will opt for other options, and a part of the reason for that is I think Freddie Steward will still be in the team, but I wonder whether we could see Freddie Steward on the wing. And that opens up the position for Marcus Smith at fullback, because we saw Marcus Smith in this game play like he never has done for England, even when he's played fly half before. That was a point that Tim from Egg Chasers, who I know a lot of you watch a lot of his videos as well, that he made when we were watching it in the media centre here. And Marcus Smith as an alternative playmaker, Marcus Smith in terms of his sidestep and his injection of pace and his creativity and what he brings to that England backline, I actually think it is worth him playing at fullback now. And before this World Cup, I never thought I would be saying that, because I'm probably a little bit conservative in that I think he's never been a fullback. Why would you play him at fullback just for the purpose of a World Cup? But I think England are in a position where they've been lacking in such creativity that maybe you could still play Marcus Smith at fullback. You can still have Freddie Stewart as a wing option. I know he doesn't necessarily have the best pace, but what he can still then bring is his ability in the air if you're worried about the kind of aerial battle and losing what Freddie Stewart brings for you in that area of the game. And then I think it's going to be, will it be Daly back to the other wing, or will it be Johnny May possibly, and then Arundell on the bench? That's what I kind of think we might see at this moment in time, almost my gut instinct, if you like, of maybe what Steve Borthwick will opt for, but which in itself I think is a massive tick in the box of Marcus Smith at fullback. I never thought I would be endorsing that for England, but because of their lack of attacking game plan, because he clearly does bring a different dimension, then I wouldn't be opposed to it now after what we've seen so far. And I know it's just Chile. I know he's not going to do that of, you know, scoring 2 tries and having a load of try assists against some of the best nations, but he does bring a little bit more dynamism to that England back row. And coming off the back of the chat about Marcus Smith, that then gives us an opportunity to chat about 10, 12, 15. George Ford came on for Elliot Daly. Owen Farrell stayed on in this game. Ford at 10, Farrell at 12, Smith 15. I think that could be what England go for. I think they might look to get all of their ball players on the pitch at the same time at this World Cup. I think that is a distinct possibility. What do you make of it? Because you can't drop George Ford. Owen Farrell is the captain and Steve Borthwick will pick him as well. And because of what I've already said, that's what Marcus Smith brings to the game. So it's interesting. Final thoughts on this game before I wrap up. I have to get out of here. You have to book a time slot essentially before that you can use for like 15 minutes. So someone else is about to come in. It's a difficult game for England because if they didn't win comfortably, people would say they should do, and the fact that they have won comfortably, people say, well, that's exactly what you should have done. We can't read too much into the game. It's job done for England, but is there some interesting questions in terms of selection that come off the back of it? I think that's probably my main takeaway here. Comment down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.